Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Kevin with survivalistboards.com. Oh, my shadow's on the paper. Let's move it over here. What do you say? Yeah, it's a bit better. Yeah, it looks a lot better. There was a question, Kevin, why don't you, let's do a video about hybrid and heirloom seeds. I'm like, okay, so let's do a video about hybrid and heirloom, and let's just define the difference between heirloom and GMO. GMO and heirloom are not, GMO and hybrid are not the same. Hybrid has been around for 10,000 years. Let's say that whenever mankind first started to develop agriculture 10,000 years ago, 10 to 12,000 years ago, ever since then, we have been hybridizing our plants. We've been cross-pollinating to breed a better food. GMO is taking genes. Or hang on, let's draw a picture here. I brought this paper out here. Let's say that you have an apple and an apple, okay? And these two apples, you like one characteristic. This one here is a high producer. This one here is a resistant to some type of, let's say, fungus, all right? So this one here is a high producing wild apple. This one here is slightly domesticated. We're talking 10,000 years ago, okay, guys? So this one here's survived a blight, fungus or something. So what you do is you cross-pollinate them. And a lot of times bees do this. This happens all the time in nature. I mean, this is not something that mankind does. It's something that nature does on its own. So you take this apple over here that's a high-producing wild apple, but it's kind of bitter. And you've got your domesticated apple over here that's got a more sweeter taste to them. So you will take and nature will cross-pollinate them. And the result is a hybrid. That's what a hybrid is. And then you have something here that is a little bit sweeter tasting than the wild apple, but it's not very, still kind of bitter tasting. So you take this and you breed it again with this one again. So then you get this right here. And that's how it works in nature. Bees, wasps, all kind of little critters that like the pollen, they cross-pollinate plants all the time. This is a natural process. Sometimes these hybrids are sterile. How do you spell sterile? S-T-E-R-I-L-E, something like that, where they will not reproduce. And so this right here is cut off, and that line will fade away. But sometimes the result is a producer where it is not sterile, and it will produce offspring on its own. That's a hybrid. Okay, now, the GMO, scientists take an apple, and then they take a gene out of a fish, something that will never be able to crossbreed, never be able to cross-pollinate, two different total species. They take some gene out of the fish, and they splice it in with an apple, and the result is a GMO because it's been genetically modified. These will never cross-pollinate. These will never occur in nature. They will never occur naturally. So science intervenes and says, okay, this fish has got a gene that we like, so we're going to take that gene and we're going to splice it in with some rice. Like one of the big things was yellow rice or golden rice. So they took some gene and put vitamin A into rice that does not naturally occur in rice, and the result was genetically modified. The difference is one occurs in nature all the time. One offspring can be sterile, may not be sterile. That is a hybrid. Genetically modified will never occur in nature because it relies on science. Take my paper, and I brought some okra out here as an example. We'll be getting to that here in just a couple of minutes. And I grew this okra. I grew this okra a couple of years ago. I was saving it for seeds. If y'all listen, you can hear the seeds in it. That's the seeds inside of it. Just doing that for an experiment to grow some okra. Probably grow that this year. Anyway, all right, let's go with open pollinated, heirloom. And then hybrid. All right. So, there's a lot of differences between heirloom and hybrid. Heirloom breeds true to form. If you plant an okra like this, if you plant this okra, save the seeds, and plant the seeds, it will breed or reproduce true to form. It's the same every time you plant it, unless you plant it next to something else. Like This is a smooth skin okra. I prefer smooth skin okra over the ridges. If you plant this next to longhorn okra, then this may be a hybrid okra, because the bees will cross-pollinate between the two different types of okra. So heirloom is where there's no cross-pollination. You're able to save the seeds, plant the seeds, and every time it will reproduce true to form. You'll get the same okra every time, as long as it does not cross-pollinate with anything. A hybrid is the resulting of two cross-pollinations or more, further back up in here, but let's just say it's cross-pollination of two different types of plants. You come down here and you plant it, you save the seeds. You plant it again. It's not going to be true to form. It's going to be one of the parents, or it may not even reproduce. It may be sterile. So if you save the seeds, hybrid, there goes my paper, hybrid, two cross-pollinating parents, plant that, save the seeds, plant it, plant the seeds. It may or may not even grow, and if it does grow, it will not be true to form. It'll be a result of one of the parents. It may be something else. So that's the difference between hybrid. This possibility of you replanting hybrid seeds is a shot in the dark. If we know that hybrid seeds chances are will not breed true to form, or may not reproduce at all. If may not reproduce true to form, and may not grow true, may not even grow at all. They may be sterile. So why stockpile them? Why stockpile them? Because hybrid seeds have been developed to be drought, depending on the type of seed and what it is. It's designed to be drought, pest, and disease tolerant. More, not that it is drought tolerant, it is pest resistant, it is disease resistant. It's that they are crossbred to be these things more than heirloom. Does that make sense? That with heirloom, you've got a very, say, strict genetic diversity here, or a very narrow genetic diversity. And over here, you've got the hybridization that increases the genes, or increases the gene pool, to make the hybrids more drought resistance than heirloom, more pest resistance than heirloom, more disease resistance than heirloom. So if something happens, a pest or a blight or something comes in and wipes out your heirloom crop, then you fall back on your hybrids and you plant those seeds and rely on your hybrids until you figure out what's going on with your heirloom seeds. If you live in an area that is prone to drought, say prone to certain types of pests, prone to certain types of fungus, or whatever else, then hybrids may be a better option for you than heirloom open pollinated, simply because hybrids are a mixture of genes, and they are designed, let's say that you've got a tomato up here and it's drought tolerant and it's heirloom, and then you've got a tomato over here that's resistant to some type of fungus or something. I forgot my N right there. Anyway, all right, so you take those drought, you crossbreed those, cross-pollinate them, then the result is something that's going to be maybe more drought, more fungus resistant than its parents, either of its parents. I know there are a lot of prepping channels on YouTube that preach you should only stockpile heirloom seeds, and that's it. That's all you should stockpile. I'm telling you, the people that say that are wrong. They are wrong. They are ignoring the facts that if you have a tomato or an okra over here that is a little bit more drought resistant and a little bit more fungus resistant than this heirloom over here, then shouldn't you stockpile some seeds of this just in case these heirlooms fail? That if you get some type of fungus on your crops or something going on with the soil, then you can save your heirloom seeds, plant your hybrids, You know you're not going to be able to save the seeds, but it does give you food. Isn't that what all this is about, is food? So, include some hybrid seeds in with your stockpile. Consider them backup or rotate them out. Never plant types of plants next to each other. We'll give you an example. Like, let's take yellow squash. S-Q-A-S-Q-U, however you spell it. Anyway, squash, yellow squash, and then you've got straight neck. S-T-R-A. Straight neck and crook neck. If you planted those two next to each other and they cross-pollinated by bees, the result would be a hybrid. Same thing with zucchini. How do you spell zucchini? Z-U-C-H-H-I-N-I, or is it N-N-I? Something like that. Anyway, if you planted zucchini and crookneck squash together beside each other, the result would be a hybrid. You'd need to plant these crops far apart so that the bees cannot go from one, then jump over to the other one, then jump over to the other one. And what you would end up with would be a bunch of hybrids because they're in the same family. These are in the same family. Same family. So I hope that made some sense to you. That the hybrid, where are we at here? Okay, hybridization has been going on for thousands of years, 10,000 years. That the first people that started growing crops, took wild plants, crossed them, and then resulted in something that was edible. And finally, 10,000 years later, we have what we have today. Because a wild apple 10,000 years ago is not the same kind of apple that we have today. GMO, cross-splicing genes of things that would never be able to cross-pollinate, never be able to mix ever in normal situations, such as a fish gene and an apple resulting into a GMO corn or something, or fish gene corn resulting in GMO corn. All right, so heirlooms. Save the seeds, breed true to form. Straight down, hybrid may not breed true to form, may be sterile, may not reproduce at all. But hybrids are they are a little more supposed to be more drought, pest, and disease resistance than heirloom. So stockpile your hybrid seeds, know what they are, realize what they are. Never plant your hybrid next to heirloom, and just be aware that if you do plant hybrid, that you're not going to be able to, you do save the seeds and plant them, do as an experiment, just see what happens. It may or may not reproduce. It'll probably reproduce of one of the parents, but it should not reproduce true to form. All right, guys and gals, that's it for now. But I do include hybrid seeds in my stockpile. I know what they are. I know the advantages and disadvantages. Anyway, God bless. I'll talk to y'all later.